We found your number among the emergency numbers of Miss Sara. She's pregnant and in a critical condition.
Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across the ballroom as 300 guests rose to their feet. Marcus Chen stood at the altar, his custom Armani tuxedo fitting perfectly across his shoulders, his jaw tight as he stared at the woman in white approaching down the aisle. Elena Park moved with the practiced grace of someone who had been groomed for this moment her entire life, her dress a masterpiece of silk and diamonds that probably cost more than most people's homes. This wasn't just a wedding. This was a merger. Chen Enterprises and Park Pharmaceuticals, two dynasties becoming one. Marcus's father had made that very clear. The officiant began speaking, but Marcus barely heard the words. His mind was somewhere else, with someone else, in a different life that felt like a dream he'd woken up from too soon. Then his phone buzzed in his inner pocket. Once. Twice. 3 times. Emergency calls only. His heart stopped. He pulled out the phone with trembling fingers, and the screen lit up with words that shattered everything. "Sir, we have a woman here, Sara Williams. She's 7 months pregnant and was rushed to St. Mercy's Hospital by a stranger and she's been unconscious. We found your contact listed as an emergency contacts on her phone. Are you family? We need consent for emergency procedures." The phone slipped from his hand and clattered against the marble floor. The sound echoed through the silent ballroom. 300 pairs of eyes watched as the color drained from Marcus Chen's face. Elena's perfectly painted lips parted in confusion. His mother stood from the front row, her expression a mixture of rage and horror. But Marcus didn't see any of them. All he could see was Sarah's face, the way she'd looked at him the last time they spoke, the hurt in her eyes when she'd said those final words. Marcus stepped backward, away from the altar, away from Elena, away from the life that had been chosen for him. Someone gasped. His father's voice cut through the murmur. "Marcus. Marcus, what are you doing?" But Marcus was already moving, pushing past the wedding party, his shoes pounding against the floor as he ran down the aisle, past the shocked guests, past his mother's outstretched hand, past everything that was supposed to matter. The memory hit him like a physical blow as he burst through the hotel doors and into the rain. 9 months ago. The conference room at Chen Enterprises, where he'd been half asleep during another quarterly review meeting. Then she'd walked in. Sara Williams, the communication consultant his father had hired to fix their international relations disaster. Marcus had barely looked up at first, assuming she'd be another yes person telling them what they wanted to hear. "Mr. Chen," she'd said, and her voice had cut through his boredom like a knife. "You lost the Singapore contract because you treated their executive team like they were beneath you. You lost the Mexico City deal because you didn't bother learning anything about their culture beyond what you found in a 5-minute Google search. You don't have a communication problem. You have an empathy problem." The room had gone silent. No one spoke to Marcus Chen like that. He was the heir, the golden son, the untouchable prince of Vancouver's corporate elite. He'd looked up then, really looked at her, and something in his chest had shifted. She wasn't afraid of him. She wasn't impressed by him. She just saw him, really saw him, and found him wanting. "You don't know anything about me," he'd said, his voice cold. "I know enough," she'd replied, holding his gaze. "I know you think your last name and your bank account mean you don't have to try. I know you've never had anyone tell you no. And I know that if you don't change, you're going to destroy everything your family built, and you'll never even understand why." He should have fired her on the spot. Instead, he'd asked her to dinner. That first dinner had turned into a second, then a third, then late nights at her apartment where she taught him things no MBA program ever could. How to listen. How to see the world through someone else's eyes. How to be human instead of just being powerful. She'd told him about growing up between two worlds, her Mexican mother and American father, never quite fitting into either. She'd shown him her favorite foods, her music, the books that shaped her thinking. And somewhere between the conversations and the laughter and the way she looked at him like he was just Marcus, not Marcus Chen of Chen Enterprises, he'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love. "You make me feel real," he'd whispered one night, holding her close. Like I'm not just playing a part someone else wrote for me. Then stop playing it, she'd whispered back. Be real. Be yours. But being real meant bringing her home. It meant walking into his family's Vancouver estate with Sara's hand in his, watching his mother's face freeze into a mask of polite horror. His father hadn't even pretended to be polite. She's not one of us, Marcus, his mother had said, her voice dripping with disdain as Sara waited in the garden. Whatever you think this is, it ends now. I love her, Marcus had said, and he'd never meant anything more in his entire life. His father had laughed. Love? You think love matters? You think love pays for this house, this company, this life? You're engaged to Elena Park. That wedding happens in 3 months, or you lose everything. Your position. Your inheritance. Your name. Then I'll lose it, Marcus had said, but even as the words left his mouth, fear had crept into his heart. The next day, there'd been a photo shoot. Marcus and Elena, the golden couple, smiling for the cameras to announce their engagement. His father had insisted. Just business, just publicity. Sara would understand. Except she didn't understand, because why would she? The photos went viral. Vancouver's most eligible bachelor and his perfect bride-to-be. And Sara had seen them on her phone while Marcus was in yet another meeting he couldn't skip. She'd been waiting at his apartment when he got home, and her face was different. Closed. Done. Choose, Marcus, she'd said, and her voice had broken on his name. Me or them. Your real life or the life they bought for you. But you don't get both. I won't be your secret. I won't be the woman you hide while you play Prince for the cameras. I need time, he'd begged. Just give me time to figure this out. You've had 9 months, she'd said. How much more time do you need to decide if I'm worth fighting for? He'd watched her walk out that door, and he'd let her go. Coward. Fool. He'd let her go. 2 weeks later, he'd finally found his courage. He'd bought a ring, simple but beautiful, with patterns that reminded him of the art she loved. He'd driven to her apartment ready to give up everything, to fight for her, to be the man she deserved. But the apartment was empty. Cleaned out. And on the kitchen counter, a single envelope with his name. Marcus, I love you. I will always love you. But love without courage is just a beautiful tragedy, and I can't be your tragedy anymore. I can't watch you tear yourself apart between duty and desire. I can't be the reason you lose your family. So I'm making the choice for both of us. Be happy, Marcus. Be the man they need you to be. And maybe someday, you'll remember the man I thought you could be. Sara. He'd fallen to his knees in that empty apartment and sobbed like a child. What he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that 2 weeks after she'd written that letter, Sara had been standing in a bathroom in her new city, staring at 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test, her whole body shaking. She'd picked up her phone a dozen times to call him. She'd even typed out the message. I'm pregnant. It's yours. But then she'd remembered his father's cold eyes, his mother's contempt, the way Marcus had looked in those photos with Elena, like he belonged in that world and she was just a detour. He chose his family, she'd whispered to her reflection. I won't trap him. I won't make him resent me, resent this baby. We'll be okay. We have to be okay. But at 7 months pregnant, nothing was okay. She'd come back to Vancouver to care for her sick mother, hidden herself away, planned to leave again before anyone knew. Then the pain had started. Sudden. Terrible. She'd barely made it to the street before her legs gave out and the world went dark. Now Marcus was running through that same rain, his wedding forgotten, his life unraveling, and all he could think was please. Please let her be alive. Please let me have one more chance. Please. He burst through the emergency room doors still in his tuxedo, rain-soaked and wild-eyed. Sara Williams, he gasped at the nurse's station. She was brought in, emergency contact, I need to see her. The nurse's expression shifted from annoyance to sympathy. Are you the father? The father. The words didn't make sense. What? Mr. Chen? A doctor appeared, her face grave. I'm Dr. Rodriguez. Your wife is. She's not my wife, Marcus interrupted. Not yet. What's wrong? What happened? She's 7 months pregnant, Dr. Rodriguez said, and Marcus felt the floor tilt beneath him. Severe preeclampsia. We need to do an emergency C-section, but she's refusing consent until you arrive. She's been asking for you. 7 months. Pregnant. His child. His and Sarah's child. The world narrowed to a single point of understanding. She'd been alone. Carrying his baby. Alone. And he'd been standing at an altar with someone else. Take me to her, he managed. Please. The hospital room was too bright, too white, too full of beeping machines. And there, in the bed, looking smaller and more fragile than he'd ever seen her, was Sara. Her eyes were closed, her face pale, her hands resting on the swell of her belly. Their baby. Oh God, their baby. Sara, he whispered, moving to her bedside. Her eyes opened slowly, and when they focused on him, still in his wedding tuxedo, something broke in her expression. Anger. Grief. Love. All of it at once. You came, she said, her voice weak. Of course I came. Sara, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you? His voice cracked. A baby. We have a baby. You were having a wedding, she said, and despite everything, there was the ghost of her old fire. How did that go? I left, he said simply. I saw your name and I left. I would always leave. Sara, I have to tell you, I need you to know, I was coming back. I bought a ring. I was ready to give up everything. But you were gone. Tears slipped down her face. I couldn't be your secret anymore, Marcus. I couldn't watch you choose them over and over. And when I found out I was pregnant, I thought, he already made his choice. Why would I force him into a life he doesn't want? Why would I trap him? Trap me? Marcus was crying now, too, not caring who saw. Sara, you're not a trap. You're everything. You're the only real thing in my entire life. And our baby, God, our baby. He placed his hand gently on her belly, and something moved under his palm. His child. Their child. Please let them help you. Please let them save you both. Promise me, Sara whispered. Promise me this isn't just guilt. Promise me you're not here because you feel obligated. I'm here because I love you, Marcus said, and his voice was steady now, certain. I have always loved you. I will always love you. And I'm done choosing anything over that. I'm done being afraid. Sara Williams, you and this baby are my family. The only family that matters. Something shifted in her eyes then. Permission. Trust. Faith. Okay, she whispered. Okay. The next hours were a blur of surgical lights and held breath and prayers to any god that might be listening. Marcus held Sara's hand through it all, watching her face, telling her about the life they'd build, the three of them. No more secrets. No more fear. Just them. And then a cry. Small but strong. Their daughter, wrinkled and perfect and absolutely beautiful. The nurse placed her in Marcus' arms, and Sara touched her tiny hand with one finger, and his daughter's fingers wrapped around it like she was claiming her. Hi, baby girl, Sara whispered, tears streaming down her face. Hi, sweet girl. This is your daddy. He's complicated and he's been an idiot, but he's here now. I'm here now, Marcus echoed. I'm here, and I'm never leaving. He should have known his parents would come. They arrived the next morning with 3 lawyers and expressions that could freeze fire. His father looked at the baby in Marcus's arms with something like disgust. His mother wouldn't even look at Sara. Marcus, his father said, his voice clipped. Come home. This mistake can be handled quietly. Payments arranged. Discretion ensured. You can still marry Elena. None of this needs to ruin you. Marcus looked down at his daughter, asleep against his chest. She had Sara's nose. His mouth. A perfect fusion of everything good in both of them. Mistake. His father had called her a mistake. She's not a mistake, Marcus said, and his voice was quiet but absolute. She's my daughter. Her name is Lily. Lily Grace Chen Williams. And she's the best thing I've ever done. Don't be ridiculous, his mother snapped. You have responsibilities. A position. A future. I have a daughter, Marcus said. I have the woman I love. That's my future. That's all the future I need. His father's face went red. If you choose them, you lose everything. Your position at Chen Enterprises. Your trust fund. Your inheritance. Everything we built for you. Everything we gave you. Marcus looked at Sara then, propped up in the hospital bed, watching him with those eyes that had always seen through his bullshit to the man underneath. He looked at his baby daughter. He looked back at his parents. You didn't give me everything, he said. You gave me money. You gave me status. You gave me a cage and called it a life. But love? Purpose? A reason to be better than I am? That, they gave me. He stood, still holding Lily. So I choose them. I choose love. And if that costs me everything you think matters, then I never wanted it anyway. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, his father said coldly. No, Marcus replied. The biggest mistake of my life was not choosing them sooner. His parents left, their lawyers trailing behind them like ravens. Marcus should have felt devastated. Ruined. But all he felt was free. 6 months later, Marcus stood in their modest apartment, watching Sara work at the dining table they converted into a desk. Chen Williams Consulting, their sign said. They specialized in exactly what had brought them together, helping companies understand that business was about people, not just profit. It wasn't easy. Money was tight. The apartment was small. His father had made good on every threat, cutting him off completely. But when Sara looked up and smiled at him, when Lily laughed from her playpen, when they worked side by side building something that was truly theirs, Marcus had never felt richer in his life. Ready for the ceremony? Sara asked, standing and smoothing down her simple white dress. No designer gown this time. No 300 guests. Just her family, a few close friends, and the man she loved. I've been ready since the day I met you, Marcus said, pulling her close. I just had to be brave enough to admit it. The ceremony was in a small community center, nothing like the ballroom where his other wedding was supposed to happen. But when Marcus said his vows, looking into Sara's eyes while Lily gurgled happily in her grandmother's arms, every word was true. Every promise was real. I choose you, he said. Today and every day. I choose us. I choose this life we're building together. And I promise you, Sara Williams, soon to be Sara Chen, I will spend the rest of my life proving that this was the easiest, best choice I ever made. You already have, Sara said, and kissed him. A month later, Marcus was pushing Lily's stroller through the park when he saw her. His grandmother, Helen Chen, sitting on a bench, watching them. His heart clenched. She was the only member of his family who hadn't called him since the hospital, but she hadn't supported him either. He wasn't sure what her silence meant. Grandmother, he said carefully, stopping the stroller. Helen stood slowly, her eyes moving from Marcus to Sara to the baby. Then she smiled, and it was real, warm, nothing like the cold expressions his parents wore. "May I?" she asked, gesturing to Lily. Sara nodded, and Helen bent down, lifting the baby into her arms with practiced ease. Lily cooed, grabbing at Helen's pearls. "You chose right, Marcus," Helen said quietly, her eyes never leaving her great-granddaughter's face. "Your parents think they're teaching you a lesson. They think you'll come crawling back. But I've lived long enough to know that some loves are worth everything. And this little girl? She's worth every dynasty we ever built." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. "Don't thank me," Helen said. "Just be happy. Be the man this woman and this baby deserve. That's thanks enough." She looked at Sara then. "Welcome to the family, dear. The real family. The one that matters." As the sun set over the park, Marcus stood with his grandmother, his wife, and his daughter, and realized that he hadn't lost everything when he walked away from that altar. He'd lost nothing that mattered. He'd lost the cage and kept the sky. He'd lost the weight and found his wings. Some loves are worth everything. And Marcus Chen had finally been brave enough to fight for his. Thank you so much for watching. If you felt the emotions in Marcus and Sara's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another captivating story. Your support means everything to us, and we can't wait to share more powerful stories with you. See you in the next video.